Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to today's show. We're going to talk about special needs at sea and special needs group. And so we're going to learn more about how they can help passengers that travel with challenges. Today I have with me Karen Leonard, and she's with special needs. She's going to make us all a lot smarter. So tell us a little bit about your background, Karen.
Well, first of all, thanks for that wonderful introduction. I hope it's true. Again, my name's Karen Leonard. I have been with special needs just over 3 years now, but my background in travel started about 15 years ago. I spent almost a decade as a sales and marketing coach to home-based travel advisors. So I did that for a long time. I was a travel advisor myself for a number of years. So I get what's on everybody's plate when it comes to that, but I know how important it is for you as a consumer to work with a travel advisor and what they can bring to you as far as their experience level. That's really what you're paying for. That's what that word advisor means. So I'm here to advocate that, but also to share with you what we can do for you and your friends and family if they suffer in issues or challenges and they maybe have forgotten about travel, given up on it or whatever. I want to help them and you get out there and explore the world, because I think travel is a right. I think it's a health benefit. I don't think it's a luxury per se. I think everybody should have access to it. So that's why I do what I do.
Oh, very nice. So who is Special Needs Group and Special Needs at Sea?
Well, we started out, we're a company that pre-COVID, we solely did rental special equipment to people that wanted to travel the world. And we operate in 215 metropolitan cities in 68 countries around the world. We've always had a large global footprint. Post-pandemic or during the pandemic, we expanded that because travel was basically shut down for some time. So we expanded that to include sales of special needs equipment, as well as PPE and other health and wellness products. But Special Needs at Sea did start with the cruise lines. So most of those 215 metropolitan areas are cruise ports, but we can deliver to hotels and so forth in the area within a certain drive time. So that's why we kind of went to the Special Needs Group moniker as well, because we wanted people to know that we can do more than just seaports. For example, we operate in most of Europe, all of Italy, all of Greece, all of the Dominican Republic. We do a lot of the Mexican Riviera, where the all-inclusives are on the eastern seaboard of Mexico, as well as large cities like we do Las Vegas, we do Paris, we do, New York, London, Sydney. So we are a lot of places that people don't realize they can get assistance.
And that's good to know, because for myself, I know we don't travel with Cheryl's mobility scooter just because it's inconvenient to fly with. So if you needed a scooter, that's a good option, is to be able to rent a scooter at your destination. That way you don't have to worry about what the airline's going to do to it. And sometimes that can be a lot they can do to one.
Yes.
So it just makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I've always said that to people. They say, well, I have one. And I said, well, you're welcome to travel with it, and I'm not trying to push my services on you, but you do have to think about what the airlines do to your luggage.
Exactly. So what services do you offer then, both pre-pandemic and now?
Okay, so we have all kinds of equipment. We basically tell people, don't assume it can't happen either by location or by type of service without checking with us first, because we have our, so we have mobility scooters, walkers, rollators, different kinds of equipment, power chairs, those kinds of things for mobility. We also offer oxygen, which really is kind of in short supply right now. So we have portable oxygen concentrators, which we will ship to your home so that you can then travel with them, no problem. And that equipment is very viable to travel on a plane. Since it doesn't store any oxygen, it just creates it out of the ambient air. You can use those. But we also have things like hospital beds and recliners, lift chairs, those kinds of things, massage chairs, excuse me. We have bathroom needs, shower stools, raised toilet seats, those kind of things. We also do some crazy stuff. So it's not just kind of stuff like that. It can be almost any need. We've been known to deliver organic baby food before. We have, in certain places, we can do cribs and pack and plays. My favorite story to tell is about this gentleman who was a client of ours. He was vision impaired. He had a service dog. The dog itself was special needs because it could only eat a certain kind of dog food. And that dog food wasn't readily available outside of the United States. And he was taking a cruise to Italy. And I don't remember the exact circumstances, but for whatever reason, he was not able to take the food with him. So we had to scramble around. His travel advisor couldn't find the food for him. The cruise line couldn't find the food for him. We found it for him elsewhere in Europe and got it to him in Italy. So everybody was fine. But, you know, you never know. So that's why I say, please don't ever assume something can't be done until you talk to us.
Yeah, well, and that's a great example of good customer service, you know, trying to figure out what a customer needs and find a solution for it. So I want to say kudos to you guys on that.
Thanks.
So we talked a little bit, but where all do you offer your services?
Well, we are primarily, we do the Caribbean out of the US primarily. Things have changed though. With the reorganization a little bit of the cruising industry right now, we just opened up services in St. Martin and in Nassau, which we did not have previously, so that's good. But we do all of the coastal port cities in the United States, so everything from New York to Seattle, all the way around. We also do a lot in Europe. We're in the UK, so we're in Southampton for London. We do Barcelona. Like I said, we do Greece. We do all of Italy. So all of those ports of calls can be serviced as well as their interiors. We also do Singapore. We do most of Australia and New Zealand. So just everywhere. It's almost like, where don't we go? The places we don't go pretty much is Central America. It's kind of tough, other than the Mexican seaboard that I talked about, and South Africa, or well, Africa in general. We don't have any agents there, but it doesn't mean that we can't come up with a creative solution if that's where you're going. Sometimes we can work something out.
Okay, so that's quite interesting that you have so much of the world covered. It was kind of interesting. I did an interview and just posted it on my YouTube channel with a young lady named Neha Aurora, and she does special needs tours in Asia. And she talked about Singapore being probably one of the more accessible cities in Asia because everything's pretty flat. The trains, you know, everything's pretty good. Do you do Japan?
We do not. No, Singapore right now is our only Asian city, just because the governments are a little harder to work with, number one. Number two, the topography isn't as welcoming. So it gets to be challenging. There's a lot of factors that go into where we decide to operate. You know, first of all, even though the people that operate for us in these various countries aren't necessarily employees of ours, they typically own a business such as this, or are familiar, or some kind of high-end delivery company. So I will tell you though that all the equipment there is ours. We ship it there, we maintain it, you know, we make sure it's maintained to certain standards, we monitor it. We know where every single piece of equipment is in the United States at all times, or in the world actually, at all times. So we track it, so we know what's going on, but it is a serious vetting process to get an agent for us in these different locales. And, you know, sometimes it's hard. We're not in much of Central America, I'll be honest with you, South America especially, because the way you do business is different than the way we do business here. And they expect kickbacks and bribes and stuff like that. That's just the way of doing business there. And so we don't.
Yeah, and I understand that. And plus the political instability means that bad things can happen to your stuff. So that would be a risk.
Yeah.
I'll share something with you. I learned in an interview with a gentleman that lives in Japan. In Japan, you can't take scooters on the trains, and in most places, you know, most buildings and stuff. Power wheelchairs are different, and they have access there. So that might be a good opportunity if you want to rent power wheelchairs, because somebody that's on a cruise that's going to Japan that didn't check ahead of time. And this is what I tell everybody, is check ahead of time what's required, because you can't get on the trains. Like I said, there's just basically no accessibility for a scooter in Japan, but unless you want to just drive down the street with it. I'm not sure how good that works, but a power wheelchair. So somebody that needs a way to get around, power wheelchair rental. And he said that in Japan, that all of the local rentals are all through the medical, so you can't, you just can't go rent one there. So
That's true of Israel too. That's very true of Israel. It's state run. Their special needs equipment depots, if you will, are all state run. So it's very difficult for us to get into Israel as well. But yeah, it can be a challenge for that kind of thing. And it's like you said, you need to check ahead of time. When you talk about Europe, for example, we're talking about infrastructure in Asia, a lot of these places, we're so used to the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act here in the United States. And, very few other countries have anything at all like that. And so, the infrastructures there are much older and they haven't made accommodations. Although the cool thing about my job is I get to see, and I've talked with many, many land vendors, and I'm seeing a very slow, but yet a turnaround. It's very slow, but it's coming. People are starting to put in ramps, even if they're temporary ramps and those kinds of things to make the world more accessible. I mean, we're an aging population. We really are. The baby boomer generation in our country alone, in the United States alone, is turning 65 at the rate of 10,000 people a day. It's pretty crazy. So, we are an aging population. We finally gave up the moniker of the largest population because unfortunately we're dying off. It's nature of the beast. So I think the millennials are now ahead of us as far as numbers, but still, there's millions and millions of people that are going to be aging. I'm a baby boomer myself. I'm one of the last in that group, but 10, 20 years from now, I'm going to have challenges beforehand, so.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. You were talking about accessibility. I had a chance to interview a gentleman from Madeira, and he has the coolest thing I've ever seen. It is like a 4-wheel drive scooter. And it's kind of almost like a powered chair more than a scooter, but it's designed for off-road.
Wow.
It has kind of like big tires and all 4 wheels drive. But in Madeira, he does tours. But what he does is he has a ramp that he uses to get people in and out of his van, but he'll put it up over the steps because, again, they have the same problem, not a lot of ramps. So he uses that. When I did the interview with Neha, her company in India and in a lot of places, they carry a portable ramp to get the wheelchairs up so that they can create accessibility where there is not accessibility.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. People are becoming more aware, and they're providing these stopgap measures until more permanent accommodations, or the need for the need in their perception anyway of more permanent things can happen. They have these stopgap measures, which I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, so what other special items could I request?
Well, we have refrigerators for people that may need to have medication refrigerated. You may not have that available in your hotel room or in your ship cabin. Most ship cabins have some kind of refrigerator, but that doesn't mean they're collaborated to maintain a certain temperature, or that you don't have access to change the temperature on it. So we have those kinds of things. We have incontinence supplies if that's something that you need. We have all kinds of things. We have we even supply, in some cases, sod. If you have a service dog, we have sod for them to go potty with. We work with a company. We don't provide direct support as far as autism is concerned, but we do supply or deliver items that family may need if they're going on a cruise with a company that we work with called Autism on the Seas. So we supply delivery of special toys or foods or whatever items that autistic person might need to be able to relax and enjoy a vacation. So there's all kinds of different things, as I said, hospital beds and everything.
Okay, so how do I get equipment rented? So let's say I needed a piece of equipment somewhere. How do I get it rented?
Well, we do have the ability for you to rent mobility equipment only on our website. You can go directly to our website, which is www.specialneedsatsea.com, and you can rent mobility equipment. The reason it's only mobility equipment is because there's so many other variables involved, say an oxygen or a hospital bed or whatever. So those things you do need to call in to our staff, our reservation staff, and our customer service staff. Their number is 800-513-4515. And you can speak to anybody who answers the phone. They'll give you the particulars on what we can and can't do for you. If there's, any questions, they'll get all the particulars for you, tell you what you need to provide. If anything, for example, if you're renting any kind of oxygen equipment, not the portable oxygen concentrators, but the tanks, because we have large tanks, small tanks, whatever you might need. For example, that needs a prescription from your physician. So that kind of thing, they'll let you know if anything is needed from you. They'll take the particulars on, where you want to use the equipment and for what period of time. They'll give you the pricing. The other nice thing about us, just kind of as an aside, is all of our pricing is inclusive. So it includes the cost of the rental for the equipment or service. And then it includes any insurance. If it's a piece of equipment, it includes insurance against loss or damage. So you as the client don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about putting it on your travel insurance or anything like that. And then it also includes taxes. So that insurance can cost anywhere from $10 to $15 elsewhere per day. Ours is inclusive and our pricing is still competitive.
Okay, very nice.
Mhm.
What about if I wanted to get something delivered to a hotel before or after a cruise? Can I do that?
Absolutely. As long as it's an area that we can service, we would deliver to where that hotel would require us to. It's usually at the concierge desk or the bellhop, somewhere like that. And they'll hold on to the equipment until you check in and you can pick it up there. And then if you want, you can take it to the ship, use it on the ship if you're doing a cruise. You can take it off to do short excursions as long as the ship will allow it to leave. Sometimes if you're tendering or doing something like that, it's not going to be easy for you or not possible for you to do a scooter, for example, on a tender. You can do a wheelchair certain times on a tender. It just depends on the sea and so forth. So you have to consult with ship personnel, but you're welcome to take it ashore, enjoy it. And then when you come back, say if you're doing another hotel stay, you can take it back to the hotel and we will pick it up from the hotel. Or if you are not doing a post stay, we would either pick it up in your room, or for certain cruise lines in certain areas, we have what we call our white glove service. And this is really kind of cool. We will actually, say you're not doing a pre-cruise, we will actually deliver your equipment to you personally outside the check-in area for the cruise. So in the terminal, we will deliver it to you. You'll have an expert handing it over who can go over any questions that you might have about that equipment. You can play with it while you have somebody there. Make sure you understand how it all works. Then you take it through the whole check-in process, use it on your cruise as you're going to, and then you let us know when you're going to be getting off. We have that person come back and meet you and pick up the equipment once you've gone through security. So you have that good feeling of being able to manipulate yourself through that whole process without having to depend on somebody to go get a wheelchair and get you off the ship and all that good stuff. So we pick it up after you've gotten through all of that. So as I said, it would either be picked up in your room, or in the case of the white glove service, it would be picked up outside the terminal.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty handy, because for those that have never, and I dealt with this with my mom, she would use my wife's scooter sometimes, and she was a threat to everyone around her because she wanted it to go as fast as it could go, and she was not particularly careful about pedestrians and others in front of her. She wouldn't even blow the horn. She just and I'm like, okay. So I think it's a little bit handy being able to get familiar with it before you go in and start trying to use it on the ship where you've got tight quarters and lots of people. So I actually kind of like that white glove idea. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, and I'll let you know this too. All of our scooters come with a sheet that, and not that people read it, but it's a do's and don'ts and etiquette of using a scooter.
Yeah. Okay, so if I had a hotel stay, can I rent one?
As long as it's in an area that we service, absolutely. For example, you may be just going to Rome, just to go to Rome. We can definitely provide you with a scooter or whatever it is you might need in Rome itself without having to deal with the port at all. All of our port cities, we have a certain drive time that we can go out. Usually it's about a half an hour from the port. But with a city like Rome, it's a little bit longer because that's what it is. It takes over an hour to get from the port to Rome Central. So, but it's just a phone call away to check and make sure that we can help you. We do have a list of destinations that we service online on our website. And again, that's www.specialneedsatsea.com. bear in mind that right now, all of those ports, I believe, are up and running again. All of those port agents and agents that work with us, but just call in and double check because, you know, COVID is what COVID is. So just make sure you call us to verify.
Okay. What if I need oxygen before I get on a flight?
Then if you need the oxygen itself, we can't provide you with a tank because it's not allowed on the plane. What I would recommend, because it's a fire hazard, what I would recommend is that you get a portable oxygen concentrator and use that, because that we ship to your home. And basically what it does is it's a wearable. You strap it, you know, it's just like a handbag or something, and it will allow the ambient air. It removes the oxygen from the ambient air and provides it to you. So you're not dragging around a tank. It's not a good fit for everyone, but most people that rent those from us love them. In fact, some people turn around and purchase them from us. So it really gives you a sense of freedom, and those are allowed on a plane because they're not a storage source of oxygen.
Right.
So they're a fire hazard.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so how do I place an order? So let's say I needed something, I want to place an order.
Again, if you want to do the mobility, you can do that online, but otherwise you just call that 800 number. Again, 800-513-4515. Right now, we do have diminished hours because of COVID, but as travel keeps picking up, I'm sure that will be extended. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. We do have 24-hour emergency service. So if something comes up last minute, you have a family emergency or something and you need something, give us a call. We might be able to help you, you know, and we do have 24-hour phone service that way. So just give us a call. That's true also if you rent our equipment and say you're on a cruise and something happens and you know what to do. You're out in the middle of the ocean and my scooter doesn't work. You would go to guest services. Don't you pay for this call. Guest services will make the call for you and then connect you with us, and we can troubleshoot it with you. In some circumstances, not all, but in some circumstances, if it's not something we can fix. For example, the biggest problem with scooters is that people forget to charge the battery or they don't charge it enough. So if it's not something that can be easily resolved like that, in some circumstances, we might have backup equipment on board to be able to help you.
Okay, yeah. So that's nice that you might have some on board. Okay, how far in advance should I place an order?
Well, I would say the soonest that you know, say you put the deposit down on your cruise or your trip, go ahead and place that order. That way we can guarantee that you're going to have the availability, the size, the style, whatever it is that you need, that you want. You know, as we get busier and busier, we don't have all equipment in all 215 places. We don't have as much equipment in all, you know, some ports might be a little lighter in the numbers of pieces of equipment that we have there. So in order to get the best selection and to have the best result for your trip, the sooner you can place it, the better. That being said, we have been known to do last minute stuff. We try to accommodate you as much as we can.
Okay, all right, very nice. And you already answered my next question. So what other services and products do you provide? Because I think I saw some things that might be interesting for people that are going even on a land vacation.
Well, we do provide light kits. That's really for cruising. Light kits for hearing impaired. So for example, there's a light flashes when there's announcements being read. We provide through the cruise lines. Again, this is stuff that we provide to the cruise line. You would ask their accessible department and then they would contact us, or they have the ability to do it right then. But we provide Braille services for menus and things like that. As I mentioned about the service animals, I'm not sure. What are you thinking of exactly? Because my brain isn't.
Well, we talked a little bit about if I wanted like a beach wheelchair or.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for the reminder. Yes, we have a beautiful beach wheelchair. My goal is to try and get them in every hotel in the world that has a beach. But yes, you can rent those if you're doing a hotel stay. They actually come in a big duffel bag and they can be put together in under 2 minutes. and then drawn or broken down and put back in the bag in under 2 minutes. So it's something that you can take on a cruise even, and take it to, you know, how they all have their private islands nowadays. So you can take it offshore or off the boat to the shore and assemble it and enjoy the beach. It's definitely changed the lives of a lot of people. In fact, we love it so much, it's on the cover of our equipment guide. And I always like to say, what if you get to be on the beach for the first time in your life? What would that experience feel like? And, you know, having that Joy on the Beach wheelchair available to you is just, I can't imagine what that would feel like. I mean, I've been going to the beach since I was a little tot, so.
Well, and I'm assuming yours will go in the water?
Oh yeah, it goes in the water. It needs to be supported unless it has the third wheel on it, then it is fully floatable. But the 2 wheels on it, the standard beach wheelchair, are air filled. They're sealed, but they're air filled. But it doesn't float enough on its own with an adult in it. A child, it usually will, but with an adult, you'd have to have the third wheel if you wanted the chair to float by itself, because it doesn't have floating air-filled arms. It has regular arms, so it doesn't have enough air to keep it afloat. But if you have the third wheel on it, it will float.
Well, and the reason I asked that is, I told you why I started the channel. I was looking for information on beach wheelchairs at a private island. So this was really funny because I found the beach wheelchairs. My wife got on when we started going toward the water, and they said, "No, you can't take it in the water. You can't take it in the water."
Oh no, you'll see pictures on our website and our stuff where the people are in the water, you know, shallow water, because it'll sink and it sits there. If you just like to, you know, how people drag their beach chairs into the surf, this will do the same thing, you know. Absolutely. Yeah, weird. What's the point of having a beach wheelchair if you can't get it wet?
Well, that was my thought, you know, and it was really sad because there was another family there on the beach with us at that same time, and they had a young son that couldn't walk and needed to be in a wheelchair, you know, and so they got the beach wheelchair, and the same thing happened to them when they started getting close to the water. And the dad looked at me and says, you know, what good is this? You know, he wants in the water.
Yeah.
And so I was a little disappointed in that situation. And so I was like, okay, that's very cool that yours are ones that people can take in the water. I like the idea you could take it in a duffel, because it's, you know, especially if you have a handicapped room, then you'd have one that you could take, and, you know, whatever family member needed help, you know, they would be able to get in the water. And that is, you know, that is so helpful.
It's so crucial. Yep. And ours has other accessories that you can rent as well. So it has a sunshade that you can put up so the person can really enjoy most of the day on the beach if that's what you want to do. It also comes with, or it doesn't come with, I take it back. It comes with a lap belt, but you can get a harness. If somebody has upper body mobility issues and they can't keep themselves upright, you can actually strap them in so they can enjoy it. Like I said, it comes with a third wheel as an accessory if you want to get that in addition. So, and then there are 2 types of bags. So you can do the regular duffel bag, or you can do the duffel bag on wheels, so you can just roll it around, which is nice. So there's a lot of things that you can customize it with for your rental or for purchase. A lot of people are purchasing them nowadays too. So again, we try to provide, our goal is our tagline, delivering an accessible world. We want to make sure that everybody gets the chance to experience travel or getting out. You know, just because you have a slightly different issue than somebody else doesn't mean that you should be giving up on life. There's no way.
I think that is so cool. You know, and like I said, that's a big reason why I have this channel, is to try to help people find all the things. I had a real interesting conversation with a gentleman from England the other day about, you know, some of the things they do and you know, the challenges they face. And I love learning about all the ways, you know, you mentioned Autism on the Sea earlier. And for those that don't know about that group, there'll be a link to the video interview I did in the description below. Also, you'll have information in the comments down below, so you can connect with Karen's group, Special Needs Group and Special Needs at Sea. All that information will be in the description below. But I love, you know, I love finding out, I love learning, and I love trying to be able to put things together to help people.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time today, Karen. Thank you so much for being on the show. And For those that are watching, if you haven't subscribed, I always appreciate a subscription. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate it. And, you know, it's so important for me to work with folks like you to get the word out that these services exist so people can go out and travel and enjoy themselves.